welcome back to me, Elizabeth James's Friday Hour,
Hello. This is the second part.
part
This is
two.
this is the sequel to the first part.
Yes.
Or was the first part the prequel to this part?
Yeah.
Or was that the exhibition game and this is the was that the exhibition game and this is the real game? Or was that the real game and this is the playoff? I don't know. It comes to the second part. Anyway, and I'm Kaye Lazar again. Of course. I let's see. Uh, so, um, so we always every time we do one of these shows, we always have to tell you, ask what is your you doing shows,
Yes.
the people should look out for and everything.
Yes. I'm
You know,
doing Shrek in May. So.
Shrek. Okay, May flowers bring April showers bring May flowers and Shrek.
My birthday's in May too. So.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go. We'll celebrate.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. And let's see. Do I have anything going on? Not a damn thing. No, actually, I do have a lot going on. I told you about the 10K and everything, but I'm trying to, a lot of my friends my age are kind of falling apart, so I'm trying to keep healthy and everything. Eating right and everything. I talk too much about that, but running and running and exercising. What I really look forward to is the summertime because then I can go swimming
Yeah.
outside,
Me
get a
too.
get a
Yeah.
suntan, get color in my face, as they
Yeah.
say.
Me too.
I'm very pasty looking. Trust me here. I look like I spend too much time indoors, which I do.
Yeah.
I actually put on a lot of. I actually wear a lot of lotion. I mean, as I get older, you want to keep your your skin supple. Women try to do that, but a lot of men. I mean, I know men that are younger than Willie Nelson that look like Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to worry about skin tans.
Yeah.
Black people, African Americans, rarely get that because they don't go out in the sun like white people do and get burned and,
Yeah.
and they say one bad burn will if you have one bad burn in your life, your skin has like a memory to it, and
Yeah.
you could actually. And I have that Irish
I
skin.
do too.
Yeah, I had freckles growing up. I was born with red hair and freckles, dark now, and then probably when I turned 2, it turned black. My hair, it's not black. It's black. It's not as black as I'd like it, but I had black hair, black eyebrows, brown eyes, very white skin, and freckles, red haired skin. So I was told, you better watch it, going and then of course I was, oh gosh, I hated this. I would go to people's houses. You never go out in the sun. You're the palest guy I know. And all I heard when I was a kid from other kids' parents were insults to the point where ugh, didn't like hanging around. What's really great as I get older, I don't have to deal with older people anymore because I'm one of the older people. I'm trying to set a good example.
Yeah.
When I see kids, I try to promote them. I try to be, or yeah, when I say kids, I mean people in their 30s.
Yeah.
They're young to me. So when I see them, I try to promote. Try to
Yeah.
promote, encourage them. That's the word. And because all I got was negativity when I was a kid. You're not.
Yeah.
I don't think. I actually. I mean, I'd have teachers tell me, "I think you're going to fail. I think you're going to fail this class, and I think you're going to fail this ball game, this golf game, this tennis game. You're not as athletic as everyone else is." And I said, "Oh gosh." And now at my age, I think I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are broken down.
Have you seen this movie called The Flowers in the Attic?
Flowers in the Attic. I could tell you a little bit about Flowers in the Attic. No, I haven't read, but I actually I have seen the movie on television. It has
Yeah.
Louise
They,
Fletcher. who was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but she's played. It's a pretty good movie about an old lady living in the house or something
Yeah.
in a big house. Yeah, tell me about it.
There's also a remake back in 2014 with Ellen Burstyn.
Ellen. Oh, she must play the old lady. Yeah,
Those are really good.
yeah. Well, tell me what you know about it.
It's about this family that moves in with their grandmother.
And it's a horror movie.
Yeah, and she was very mean to them, mean to her
Mm.
grandchildren.
Oh yeah,
And
I like it already.
and
I like it already because that's the typical villain of me growing up.
and then in order to win their love, her father has to whip her with the rope or something like that.
Wow. I saw a movie once. I'm going to tell you the name of it, but it was actually quite a popular movie where these kids had to live with their grandparents. The grandparents were really mean to them,
Yeah.
and then at the end, the parents, I think the kids' parents are actually on vacation somewhere, well, and left with the grandparents, and then the surprise ending was, uh, those aren't your grandparents. What else are you at? It was pretty wild. So anyway, let me tell you about VC Andrews. She came to Richmond, um, to Regency Square, and to sign autographs. She was there with another. She was in a wheelchair. She was disabled herself, and for I guess promoting, I don't know, some disabled group or the Americans with Disabilities Act or something that was popular at the time. This is back in the 70s. I went to see her there, but I didn't. I saw her, but I didn't really go to see her. I went to see the other guy. You know who the other guy was? The other guy was a guy called Harold Russell.
Oh.
Now Harold Russell, he was in the best years of our lives, and he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actors. One of the few times, I think only two times, has a non-professional actor won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. The other one was Dr. Hang Noor in The Killing Fields. These guys weren't actors; they were just. This guy was cast because he had his hands shot off in World War II, and he had hooks for hands. And the whole movie, it's about Frederick March and Hoagie Carmichael is in it, and it's a really good movie. It won Best Picture. It's about how soldiers, when they went back to America during peacetime after going through a terrible war, how they had to adjust and everything. And this movie came out at the same time that was going on. I mean, people were still going through that. They woke up from this awful nightmare of World War II, and now they can get back to things in America. So this guy had his hands shot off in real life, so he had hooks for hands. So he was cast, and he was a halfway decent actor. It turned out to be a great actor. This guy, he won an Oscar for playing the part.
Yeah.
So I always heard about this guy, and I had never met anyone who won an Oscar before. So I went to him, and I actually still have this, but I can't. I mean, it's hard to find. I had a Super 8 camera with sound, and I was making a movie, and this guy really had only made one movie. He won an Oscar. So I said, I want you to introduce my movie and say, this is Harold Russell. Please watch. Please watch Kevin Kravitz's my real name new movie, and I gave the title, and he put the microphone in his hook, and he said that. So he made two movies in his whole life. He appeared on talk shows, of course. He also appeared. He actually appeared on the show China Beach once, I think. This was after I met him, and then he was in a movie called Inside Moves. He made a second movie with John Savage. Richard Donner made it, and it was a movie, and he played a guy with, basically that's the only parts he could play was guys with
Yeah.
with hooks for hands. He couldn't. He wasn't really because so actually and he was very nice. VC Andrews was very nice, and I didn't really know a whole lot about her at the time. I know more about her now than before. But when VC Andrews died, her books were so popular that they continued writing sequels to her books. VC Andrews, Flowers in the Attic, Part 6, by, and then they give the ghost writers, the guy who actually did write
Yeah.
it, because she was already dead at the time. A lot of these people, like these biographies, like Nancy Reagan biographies, or people like that. Or I think Bill Clinton. They always say uh, Bill Clinton's life story by Bill Clinton, and they'll have someone else's name. That's the guy who actually wrote the book.
Yeah.
A lot of biographies are done that way. I think Charles Barkley, was it Charles Barkley? I think Charles Barkley. They had his biography, and he's evidently said all this weird stuff in it about other players. And they said, "Did you really say that?" He goes, "No, I was misquoted." He goes, "Well, how can you be misquoted when you wrote the book?" He goes, "Well, I didn't write the book. I just sat down for a bunch of interviews." So VC Andrews, yes, Flowers in the Attic. That was quite. But check out that they made two movies, as you say. Yeah. So you know what I used to love to read when I was a kid? Sherlock Holmes.
Oh yeah, my mom loved that
Sherlock Holmes.
story.
Yeah. Well, Sherlock Holmes. Let me talk about the movie. Well, I can talk a little bit about Sherlock Holmes, the character. Sherlock Holmes might be the most famous fictional character of all time. Arthur Conan Doyle wrote it. Of course, everyone knows that. But he got tired of writing these stories with the world's greatest detective, so he killed them off. And everyone was so outraged that he killed them off that he had to bring them back. He had to make. I don't know. I've never read the last one where he had to bring them back, but he brought them back. Now this movie, they keep making Sherlock Holmes all the time. There's new movies. A lot of them are using the same characters. I think Sherlock Holmes at this point is in the public domain. He used to be a copyrighted character up until maybe 10 years ago, and you couldn't, if you wanted to write your own story, you could, but you had to pay the Arthur Conan Doyle estate lots of money to use the character. Now you don't have to. Now he's like Cinderella or
Yeah.
someone. So anyway, this is Guy Ritchie, who was married to Madonna, made this film with Robert Downey. It's more of an action film. It's not, even though the deduction and the Sherlock Holmes character is Robert Downey Jr. playing him. Jude Law's playing Dr. Watson, who is his friend. Um, but this movie is actually quite good because it's a typical Guy Ritchie movie. There's a lot of it's very fast paced. It's basically an action film, but it takes place in like the 1880s. And I tell you what's kind of neat about this movie. Anyone who sees this movie, and they even made a sequel to it with Guy Ritchie as a director, writer, director, and the same characters. Same actors. And what's kind of neat about this movie is, so many movies you see have English actors playing Americans. Even Superman, the last two or three Supermans were English actors putting on American, and they did quite well. Henry Cavill, and then uh, they there's so many. Had Hannibal Lecter, that great person Hannibal Lecter, Donald Trump like to say, has a Southern accent, but he's played by Anthony Hopkins. Of course, Peter Sellers and Peter Ustinov played very good, had very good American accents. Now they all have American. But this is one of the few movies, major films, where an American actor with an American accent does a very convincing British accent, and everyone seems to be all right with it. Because everyone knows how Robert Downey speaks because they see him as Iron Man and then Oppenheimer and movies like that. He's always good. I mean, how you gonna complain about Robert Downey? And oh, by the way, when we're close to the same age. I'm a little older than Robert Downey, and but a lot of people where I work thought I looked a little like maybe not so much now, but at the time I thought I looked like Robert Downey. And when he was in all that trouble, being arrested and going to jail and everything, he was in the news a lot. And they show him in his orange jumpsuit, and they show him on trial, and show him on the covers of magazines and everything, and newspapers. And somebody said, Kevin, I was looking at Robert Downey. You look just like him. I said, if they ever made a movie about your life, Kevin, Robert Downey could play you. I said, I got so drunk last week. I could play Robert Downey in a movie. Robert Downey, of course, played. the guy, I forget his name, but he played the guy, the kind of the villain in Oppenheimer who gets blackballed in the government after he builds the atomic. He was the head of the Atomic Energy Commission, and he was this guy, this Southern Jewish scientist and he won the Oscar, Robert Downey Jr. just last year in the movie Oppenheimer, and I found out I had mentioned this before on the show.
Oh, I saw parts of it when I was on the airplane last year.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I saw parts of it.
Yeah. Well, it's
Um,
a quite a movie. So anyway, that the real life guy that Robert Downey played in Oppenheimer is buried in Richmond at the Jewish
oh wow,
cemetery in
really?
Richmond.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
love that. So
All right.
so and Jude Law is always good. Jude Law. Jude Law one year was picked as the sexiest man in America or something
Yeah,
for People magazine.
yeah.
Uh, they keep they you know I need you to publicize this to the so that I can get that job. Yeah, I think if they offered me the chance to be the sexiest man in America, I wouldn't turn it down. Sound like some Kanye West. Oh, or Donald Trump would say. Anyway, so check out Sherlock Holmes. Very, very good movie.
Yes.
All right, now got another movie.
Dark Shadow.
This is a hard film to find. I think this was the last big hit that Johnny Depp had. His last like 10 movies haven't done as well. He had his time, and then But this was a Tim Burton film. It's based on the soap opera from the '60s and '70s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, tell us. Do you know anything about Dark Shadows, the movie or the TV show?
Nurse Julia.
Nurse Julia. Yeah.
She was my favorite.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I have to admit, I really like this movie, and this movie has a lot of
is that a
action.
remake or is that like
Well, it's they took the TV series and wrote a 2 hour movie, with and it's sort of a comedy, but it's a lot of action, and it's really, and I think the show on television on ABC, it was a daily soap opera, was kind of tongue in cheek. The only thing that has a gothic look to it, a lot of the moors and cliffs and it takes place in Maine, I think, in the at the they own a fishing cannery or something. That's where they made all their money, but they're vampires and they're everything. Well, let me tell you something. I didn't watch this show when I was a kid. You know why?
what?
My mom wouldn't let us.
Yeah.
My mom was very religious, and she did not want us to watch stuff like this. She thought it was black magic. She thought it was the occult. She thought it was, She says if you want magic and superstition and everything, go to church. I don't want you to find your own way. That's why a lot of people don't like their kids reading Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So and kids love this stuff. Kids eat this stuff up with a spoon. They love so Dark Shadows is a very popular show among my friends. Be honest with you, I didn't really have that much interest. I just didn't like the idea. My mom told me not to. You can't watch this thing. I said, "Who the hell are you to tell us not to watch something?" I
Yeah.
felt that way when I was in To Kill a Mockingbird. There was all these. There wasn't any protest. I wish there were because I wanted to get on my soapbox and say, "Who the hell are you to tell us that we can't see this wonderful, do this wonderful play or something?" But Dark Shadows, Harry Potter, that type of thing. And the woman in it is so good. The villain in it, Eva Green, the French actress. There's a lot of Tim Burton stuff. And of course Johnny Depp. You can't go wrong with Johnny Depp. Michelle Pfeiffer. I haven't seen her in a long time. Before this movie, she kind of retired, but then now she's back making movies, and this is one of them. This movie's about 10 years old, I think.
Yeah.
And Tim Burton is always good. Tim Burton is money in the bank. He's like Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese. You're going to get a good movie out of if you watch it. It's quite an enjoyable movie. But I'm having a hard time finding this movie, and I just found it. So I almost as soon as I found it at a thrift store, I watched it that night.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wait for a while, but this one I wanted to watch right away because I remember it being so good. And so yeah, so my sisters would like the show, but they'd watch it at their friend's house because
Yeah.
their friends had like divorced parents, and parents that were drunk all the time. Not my parents. My parents. I joke with my, I joke with my sisters because I'm the eldest. I said, you don't know how tough mom and dad was on me because you had a honeymoon with them. Because my parents, your parents were almost like hippies, playing bongos and smoking pot and long hair and tattoos and everything. They weren't anything. But when I was a kid, let me tell you what my parents were like. If Simon Legree from your Uncle Tom's Cabin married the church woman from Saturday Night Live, Dana Carvey, and had a son, that was how I would be raised by them.
Yeah.
Every answer I got from my parents whenever I wanted to do something was no, no. I didn't have to get, mom, dad, no. I have a funny story about that. I like sports a lot. I wanted to go to ball games all the time. So there was a hockey team in Richmond, the Richmond Robins. So, so what happened was this kid knew I liked hockey, and he liked hockey somewhat. Do you want to go to the hockey game? I said, yeah, let's go this Sunday. I said, oh, let's go. So, I think, and your dad's going to take us? He goes, yeah, yeah. Dad said, if you could find someone to take you, be glad, let him take you. So, he didn't want to go. So what happened was, so the day of the hockey game, I was so excited. Had my shirt on and my pen, my hat, and everything. I was ready to go, and so I called up the kid. I said, "Are you ready to go to the hockey game?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah. What time's your dad picking us up?" My dad? My dad's not picking us up. He goes, "Well, ask him. Maybe he'll take us." So I go and I said, "Dad, uh, I'm ready to go to the hockey game, but there's something going on. So can you take me and my friend? His name was Mark. Can you take Mark and I?" And he said, "No, no, I'm too busy. I can't do that. Ask his father to take you." And so I said, "My dad wants your father to take us. Why don't you go ask him?" And so I hear, how you hear on a phone what's going on, and he goes, "Dad, can you take us?" "No, no, you're not going to the hockey game. I'm not taking you." So I kind of got my answer before he even came back to the phone. My dad can't take us. So so anyway, so that's my story about that. And I made a point that once, my parents always told me, once you turn 18, you could smoke all you want, you could drink all you want, you could live in an apartment, you can have girls over, you can do whatever you want. And then I turned 18 and I was still kind of stuck doing doing everything until I went to college. And then that was fun. And then I went back home and then I still lived at home. Didn't have that fancy apartment, that pad, that bachelor pad I always wanted. But then eventually got it. I got it when I was probably 63 or so, 64, 74. All right. So that's Dark Shadows. And I have one last thing here. In the Heights.
Oh, that's the sequel to Dirty Dancing.
No, you think it is. It's actually, I think there is a sequel to Dirty Dancing. It might be called something, the, the Cuban Heights or Florida Heights or something. In the Heights it was a musical on Broadway, and they made a movie which didn't go over very well. It's a very good movie. It's a very good musical. It's a Latin musical, and it came out like 3 months after COVID hit. So of course all the theaters were closed and nobody saw this movie. And then by the time things were lessened like a year or two later, then there was no more then the the burnish was off of this, the bloom was off the rose. So but if you watch it, it's a very good movie. And the guy who directed the recent Wicked,
Oh,
John Chu.
okay.
This was, I guess, his first film or the film he made before that. Actually, he made a film. between that crazy rich
Crazy Peter.
Asian, right? I think he's Chinese, and but you never know it from this movie because it's all like in New York, and the music and the dancing is so good, and it makes sense because it's sort of like a West Side Story type story, but it's was written by Lin Manuel Miranda, and if his name sounds familiar, he was in Mary Poppins Returns as the Dick Van Dyke character. He's a great performer, but he also wrote and starred in Hamilton, and he's now the toast of Broadway. Well, he's been the toast of Broadway for 10 years already,
Yeah.
and but this was his first show, and this show is good. You know,
Yeah.
he's written a lot of music for the Tony Awards. He writes music. He still does a lot of projects. But this was the first. I don't know if it was his first, but it was the first thing that caught everyone's notice. So check out In the Heights.
Yes.
Yes. In fact, I think you and I were planning to go to this, but there was no theater showing it.
Oh yeah.
So you could see it on video. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
And so hope this enlightened you. Hope you learned. There's going to be a test on this later. So it's going to be a
Yes.
quiz.
Yes.
Yes. So thanks for having me again.
Yes.
This might be we're closing in on 90 shows.
Yeah.
So you can watch us for 90 hours straight.
Yes.
You lucky people.
I just want to let I just want to tell y'all thank you all for tuning in and may God bless you.
And you're watching the Mary Elizabeth Variety Hour. I'm Kay Lazar. Thanks for keep those cards and letters coming in. Make sure if you have I've never told anyone I've never encouraged people to put comments here. But if you have nice things to say about the show, certainly if you have nice things to say about Mary Elizabeth, be sure to put them on there. So thank you for and thank you for having me, Mary
No
Elizabeth.
problem. Anytime. Love you all. God bless you.